Welcome back to another color class. I'm Sarah.
I'm Lucinda.
In today's color class, we're going to be looking at a couple different dresses and styles, determining what season they fall into. And then we're actually going to be looking at that and determining the 12 palette system. So not only are we going to be looking at 4 seasons, best colors for the 4 seasons, we're also going to be taking a look into the 12 palette system and how to shop for clothing in the 12 palette system. So this will be a really great video, especially since we've just gotten started on the 12 palette system, to give you just an idea of what it looks like.
Now, for those of you who are completely new to color analysis, we'll talk a little bit about the 4 seasons. But for those of you who already know your 4 seasons, the really kind of crux of this video is what happens when you get into a season and you split it out into the components of the 4 seasons that make up the 12 palette system. And so we do that, as you know, one of the things that we are famous for is mind pictures, color pictures for the mind, so that when you're out shopping in the wild, you will be able to identify your season right off the bat and know if something's going to look good on you or something might look marginal on you. And you can do it for other people too. If you're shopping for a friend or if you're shopping for a family member, these lessons will actually give you an excellent idea of what fits in someone else's palette as well, so you don't have to carry around multiple palettes.
So getting into the first dress, we have this beautiful emerald green color, and I probably just gave it away by saying emerald green.
She did. And those of you who know the 4 seasons, if you're a winter, your colors are jewel tones. So you're out shopping in the wild, you run across this gorgeous green, emerald green dress. You're going to know that this is pretty much something that will look terrific on a winter. Dark hair, medium to dark hair, no red or gold highlights. That's kind of a general overview of what a winter is. Think Courtney Cox. Think who's another? Think Elizabeth Taylor. And so that's going to be the person who's going to look good in this dress. So you go a little bit further down the aisle and you see a dress that looks a little bit more like an army green. And this is indicative of somebody who will look, an autumn will look absolutely gorgeous once that emerald green has been drabbed down a little bit to be more of an olive or perhaps an army green. And an autumn is someone who has red or gold highlights and dark hair. So it's the warm version of what we showed you before, which is the winter.
Which autumns are soft and deep.
Exactly, just like her. And so you see a dress like this that's actually a more muted version of a green that's not really a vivid emerald in your face kind of green. And you'll know that any autumn friends that you have will look terrific in this dress. Further we go down the aisle and you see a bright, vivid leaf green. It's bright and in your face, and bright is the sort of code word for someone who is a spring, and that means that you have red or gold highlights, but your hair is medium to light.
So springs are warm, but they're also bright. They're kind of the opposite of an autumn, which is soft and warm.
And deep. Like an autumn, soft, deep, and warm, and a spring would be light, warm, and bright. We continue to shop, and you run across a dress that is very gray, a grayed out version of the green. Very muted. Now, what you're going to learn is this person, the person who can wear this dress beautifully, is a summer. And a summer has light hair, no red or gold highlights, and they are soft and muted, very muted. Sarah likes to call them frosted, and I'm a summer, so I could wear this dress.
And a lot of this has to do with the texture of this dress as well, because it's reflecting back the light, so it's giving it almost a softer appearance, which is really unique. It almost doesn't even look green, but I can see the hints of it, but it's reflecting so much light.
Now, I thought I would wait until we got into the showing these images side by side and talk to you a little bit about textures, which is what Sara was sort of leaning into here. And textures are really important because if you're looking at something that's a particular color and it has a different kind of texture, it may come across differently. And the best example I can give of that is when you paint your walls. And let's say you've painted a wall and the wall is an eggshell. And the trim on the wall is a gloss, your doors and your trim. And your another area is a complete flat color. If you look at all, and it's all the same color, you go to your paint store, Sherwin-Williams, whatever, Benjamin Moore, get the exact same color in all these different finishes, and then you paint them side by side. What's going to happen? They're going to look like they're different colors because they're doing what color does. They reflect the light differently. So a gloss is going to look a little bit lighter. A flat is going to be deeper, and an eggshell is going to fall somewhere in between. So what we wanted to show you with these dresses is finishes, for lack of a better term. In this case, it's fabrics that show different reflectivity. And so, of course, your emerald, your jewel tone for the winter, reflects like a jewel. The idea is it gives you that kind of finish.
I love it.
Moving to the left, your spring, which is bright. It's bright. There's nothing with the fabric that changes the fact that overall this color is bright. Move a little further to the left, your summer finish, exactly what Sara says. If you've got light reflecting kind of giving it a little bit of sparkle, that softens it, makes it look even more muted. And muting is the key for a summer. And the autumn, we are also going for a softer kind of finish here because the autumn is a soft color. But remember, autumn is like the autumn landscape. So if you can find something in terms of the finish that gives you a soft reflection, you get some texture but a soft reflection, that's beautiful for autumns and your autumn colors. Now, we're going with print. I wanted to give you some examples of prints that might be great for different seasons.
And print can be a little bit tricky because we get a lot of different color variations, so it can be hard to determine a season based off a print.
I have kind of a trick, and Sara laughs at me about my trick, but I think she started to pick it up.
I use it every single time. So,
and the trick is to sort of close one eye and blur the other. And if you blur what you're looking at and you can pick up a predominant color, that's usually the season you can go with. But in this particular instance, we wanted to give you some various prints that could be used for our 4 seasons. We're still in the 4 seasons now. We haven't moved on. But the first thing that I want to show you is the spring. I'm flipping up the order a little bit. And one of the things about spring colors is you can wear a warm pink. And a lot of people say, well, springs and autumns, that's not really, pink isn't really in their palette. Well, remember, pink is basically a light red. And a light red can be either a cool light red or a warm light red. And so, yes, in fact, you can have a warm pink, as evidenced by this little peasant dress. And we've added little bits of yellow, pale yellow, to make it even warmer. And the most important part of this is sometimes when you have a print and you're not going with, a color with a white, if you have a print with a color, it will soften it. Right. It'll make it softer. So we made sure that the background color of this particular print was really bright, so that overall you get a bright effect. Next, we're going to show you summer. And summer, again, remember that's the muted part of your palette. It gives you the ability to wear something that isn't overpowering if you're a summer. And so we chose this because it was kind of a muted version of that, in that pinkish family. Then,
Well, question on the summer. Since we do
tell.
have the warmer yellow, you know what I'm talking about, that white in the middle, how come that doesn't lean warm? Why is it a cool summer dress?
Well, okay. Well, the important thing is what's above the waist. And if you look at that color above the waist, that is a mauve color.
Right. It's a very soft pink.
Exactly.
When you blur your eyes, it's soft pink up at top, and that's what's reflecting back onto your face.
Exactly. So if you look at the band that's further down, that's where you're picking up the warmth. So because it's further away from the face, it doesn't really affect the season per se. And if that were flipped, it would still be summer.
Yeah, because it's just an off-white. It's not a super, when I said yellow, I was just trying to emphasize that it wasn't crisp. Yeah. Right. There was a little bit of warmth, but it's still an off-white.
Now, remember, one of the things that we're going to show you very soon is how the summer palette, spring palette, all of these palettes are divided up into different subgroups. This actually would fit in a summer subgroup, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that later. So if you were a quote-unquote cool summer, and that means that of the three subgroups of summer, you are the coolest version of that, I could see that might be a little bit too warm for you.
Right. And that's further on in our video when we split up into the 12 palettes.
Yes, and it will become crystal clear if it's clear as mud right now. The next thing that I wanted to show you is winter. Now, winter, this is so obvious, and I hope I'm not just like telling you exactly what you already know, and that is winter is the high contrast season. So what are we going to give you? A high contrast print. If you see the white and the cool pink, and they're like playing off of each other, and it's really bold, that is probably best for a winter season, high contrast. Compare that to something that we selected for autumn, which is low contrast. If you look at the colors in the outfit that we've selected for autumns, they don't really, one isn't really so vividly opposite of the other. It's not so bold. It's softer. And that's why we chose it for autumn, because autumn is a soft season. Going back from left to right, if we look at them side by side, remember spring is bright, summer is muted, winter is contrasty, high contrasty, and autumn is soft.
I love the difference between spring and winter, showing you the warmth versus the coolness, the high contrast versus a little bit softer, but it's still high contrast. So
yeah, and this is so important to know, and I'm glad that you brought up those two, Sarah, because with springs, you still need to be really bold.
Right.
Bold, bright, but you don't need to be high contrast. High contrast is saved for the winter, where you've got the dark hair, the light skin, or some variation.
The opposite of that,
yes,
right?
Some variation of that.
So you have a really high point and a really low point. If you were to turn it into a black and white photo, is there a really dark area and versus a really light area?
Exactly. And summer, looking at summer next to autumn, obviously summer is a cool season and it's muted, and we call it muted for a reason. Because it's grayed out. But then you go over and look at autumn. Autumn is definitely not grayed out. There's still a lot of color in the autumn palette, but the colors are not high contrast. They're soft. They blend into each other. They're like an autumn landscape.
That's exactly what that dress looks like, actually. Looks like a close-up leaf in autumn.
Exactly. Now, what happens when you divide up an autumn palette? In terms of an autumn palette, you have 3 divisions that make up the possibility of an autumn palette in the 12 palette system. If someone's an autumn, they can be a soft autumn, they can be a warm autumn, or they can be a deep autumn. And the characteristics of the 6 dominant characteristics are what kind of help you divide up these subcategories of the 12 palette system. Are they soft? As in leaning a little bit toward neutral? Are the different hair, skin, and eyes, do they not necessarily match each other? Are they, like, for example, if you're a warm autumn, you likely have warm hair, warm skin, a warm color eye. But with soft, you might be a little bit like Sara with, like warm hair, cool skin tone, neutral eye color, or some variation thereof, or you're a mixture, so that softens, if everything is warm, then you look warm. If things start to stop being warm, if your skin tone is cool, then you're a little less warm, which means you're a little softer. And then in terms of a deep autumn, you've got all the characteristics of autumn, but they're deep, they're darker. And so those make up the 3 subcategories of autumn. And so we just picked out some outfits here that would be flattering. Autumns can pretty much wear this whole lineup. But if you really want to pinpoint accuracy in terms of your subcategories or your sub-palettes, I would go with this kind of muted pink color for a soft autumn, because it brings in a little bit of coolness.
Yeah, it gives it a little bit more neutrality.
And with the warm autumn, I mean, you're just a golden girl. You're just blazing autumn right there with that beautiful bronze color, or more coppery bronze color. And then this bronze color is neutral enough that if you're a deep autumn, this is going to really sing. Spring. Now, spring is another warm season, as many of you know. But remember what I said, spring is bright. And that makes it a little bit tough. And we've talked about how difficult it is to find lipsticks that are the perfect color for springs.
Right, because you need warm and bright, and that's not usually the trendier colors.
Exactly. And the same is true to a degree on clothing, if you're looking for something that's kind of in this general color. Now, obviously, springs just absolutely look amazing in greens, but they have to be bright. And you can find bright greens out there pretty well. I mean,
like a Kelly green, pretty common.
Leaf green, you find it all over the place. Turquoise springs look amazing in turquoise, very common. But when we're trying to find something, we're trying to keep this kind of similar. And a bright color for spring in this palette, it was a little difficult to find, but I think we did it all right. The spring season can be divided up into 3 sub-seasons, or sub-palettes is a better word. And we're talking the 12 palette system here, not the 16 palette. But in the 12 palette system, if you divide springs up into a more nuanced version of spring, you will have a light spring, a warm spring, and a clear spring, or a bright spring. And what I tried to do here is the same thing, kind of give you a version that is beautiful in terms of a light spring. But once you get some, and a light spring is somebody who has all the spring characteristics, but they're all light. Light hair, light skin, light eyes.
So you can't wear anything too deep, or it becomes extremely deep and heavy, right?
It's like you're trying to carry around this 1,000-pound dress visually. A warm spring obviously has all the spring characteristics, but they're warm. Warm hair, warm skin, warm eyes. And something like this particular color would be spectacular.
And they also have a little bit more contrast than a light spring. So they can pull off deeper colors because they have a bit more contrast. So they have a slightly darker point, whether it's the brows, whether it's like maybe the roots on the hair, things like that. They have just a little bit more depth so they can pull off heavier colors.
And if we're, I'm going to give you a word here. We're going to define a word because we've said we really need to start dealing with vocabulary a little bit. And the word here is saturation. With this particular sub-palette, you're looking for more saturation in terms of color. And that means that there is actually more color there. when something, let's say that you take a photograph and you put it in the sunlight for a month, and that photograph fades out. That photograph has become less saturated. The color saturation has kind of dissipated. When something is the most vivid color it can be, then you've got full saturation. So here you can go with a little bit more saturation. And then as we get to clear spring, you can go fully saturated because you want to be as bright as possible. And the reason that I showed you multiple colors within this clear spring is to show you that you can accent brightness by offsetting color, especially if it's opposite color in terms of its complement. So if you look at the pink and the green at the bottoms of the dress, it's just a faintly warm pink with a very vivid kind of leaf green. Those two are complementary colors, so they're kind of vibrating with each other, and they create a lot of contrast. Not so much that it's disturbing, but just enough to give you extra contrast. And then the warm spring, the predominant part of the dress, which is, warm, that blends it all together visually into something that would be really beautiful for a clear spring, which is someone who has high contrast points in terms of skin, hair, or eyes. Now we're further into the dress aisle, and we're looking at something for winters. And winters have been divided up here in the 12 palette system by cool winter, clear winter, and deep winter. Clear winter could be another word for bright winter or vivid winter, or it basically means that of the three categories, that clear winter is the most contrasty. There is something that goes from a number 1 in terms of saturation of color to a number 10 in terms of saturation of color with your hair, skin, or eyes.
Right. I always go back to the black and white photo. If there is white and there is black, there's a whole lot of contrast.
Absolutely. Now, cool winter. Everything is cool. The hair has no red or gold highlights. Skin tone, no red or gold in terms of the skin tone. No warm highlights or warm undertones. And generally, the eyes are cool, whether they're cool brown or a cool ice blue or even a cool green. And yes, there can be a cool green. Everything is cool. And it all, there's nothing warm on this person's personal palette or their personal color scape. Deep winter, same thing. Deep hair, deep skin, deep eyes. Now notice in the cool winter, what we've tried to show you is something that shows you cool colors all the way through. The clear, we're trying to give you something that has some contrast and is extremely bold. And then with the deep, we're doing the same thing with the contrast, but it is deep rather than clear.
And we've made it to our last one.
Yep. And this one is our summer fashion show for summers. And the summer category can be divided into light, soft, and cool. And as you see here, for light summer, we've given you something that has all of the little elements of summer, the colors of summer, sitting on a light colored field. And it creates this airy kind of feathery light illusion where you have all the color, but it's light enough that someone who has, for light summer, very light hair, very light skin, very light eyes. They're the whole package in terms of light, where it doesn't weigh you down. It keeps you lifted. It's feathery, and it's just very, not pale. We're not looking for pale. We're looking for light. Moving ahead, summer, remember we're talking about light hair, light skin, light eyes in some combination, but maybe it's not perfect. Maybe like myself, you have light hair and your hair has no red or gold highlights in it, but your eye color might be a little bit neutral, or your skin tone might be not so cool. that makes you soft. Anything that puts you over toward the neutral category makes you a soft summer. And what we've given you here is the same kind of palette, but overall. And we've done the same thing with the ruching. We've made it kind of a softer look because the ruching breaks up that complete band of color by giving you just a little bit of softness in terms of the texture of the fabric.
And a lot of soft summer shades work for soft autumns as well. I was just thinking a soft autumn would look pretty good in this.
Well, remember, that takes you back to the 6 dominant characteristics. Right. And then we go to cool summer. And cool summer, it's similarly to the light, you have a complete lineup. Your hair is cool. Your eyes are cool tone, your skin is cool tone. And so basically that takes you onto the color wheel on the cooler side of the color wheel, on whatever color you're looking at. So imagine with the light summer dress, we just gave you more depth of color. Or with the soft summer dress, we gave you a cooler dress. And this basically is the gamut of what summers can wear. And as Sarah pointed out, there's certain bridges between soft autumns and soft summers that both can wear pretty well.
So next time you're out shopping, I hope you remember these guides and can start to pick out pieces. We are trying our best to make sure you know how to shop your best colors and learn these slight changes, because I know when we started our color analysis journey, we realized there was something off about how color analysis was done, how structured it was, but there are little tweaks that you can pull yourself into different areas, and it doesn't have to be so precise. You don't have to wear one color for the rest of your life or be one hair color for the rest of your life. You can change it up, and that's really what we want to teach here, and those slight changes that can alter the look to fit perfectly within any of these colors.
And Sarah said it so well. We worked for a color analysis company, a color analysis cosmetic company, for a combined total of 40 years, with Sarah's time she put in and the time that I put into that company. Mm-hmm. And believe me, during that time, we learned a lot about all the different palettes, about makeup and how it works with the different palettes. But one of the most important things we learned is that people need more than just a color wheel in their hand or a color swatch of fabrics in their hand if they're going to really embrace color analysis and get the full benefit out of it. And that was probably the most important thing we learned.
Right. There was so much education that was dropping off that needed to be added. And also there's so many different shades that don't fall in to the basics that needed to be added. So we really wanted to create an inclusive system that people could actually understand and were able to learn how to make slight changes, because who wants to be one thing forever? Who wants to be stuck in kind of like a rut of wearing the same colors that you constantly wear? I love changing up my style. I love changing up my coloring. You know, every single day I'm mixing my foundation to find the right thing, and I love doing it. I love creating different looks with my makeup. So why be stuck in one thing forever? And that's what we want to teach here.
And it's like we tell you so often, we want you to know the rules so you can break the rules.
Yep. So hopefully you're coming along this journey to learn how to break all of the rules with us.
We're here to break the rules.
Yes, exactly. So thank you for watching this video. Don't forget, if you want to do us a huge favor, liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing the video to your friends who might be interested really helps us out. We are a new YouTube channel, so we want you to come along with us and learn all about color analysis. So thank you again. I'm Sarah.
I'm Lucinda.
This has been another color class, and we'll see you in our next video.